Who here thinks that critical race theory says that white people are inherently evil?
Oh, right here. Sitch, you're raising your hand, right? This is what happens. We've had a generation now of people of color that have been raised thinking people of color, it's impossible for them to be racist. That they cannot display any kind of racism. That's like physically impossible for them. That was a giant mistake. That was a huge mistake.
Yeah, it's true.
Anyone can be a racist piece of shit, okay?
If CRT or other woke academics are saying that being on time and being orderly and productive is a, quote, white cultural value, then the implicit implication is that means they're saying that black people are lazy and late.
You're right.
So it's not just they're just being, and this is why I think Karlin Borchenko is totally right when she says, don't call CRT white racism, just call it racism.
It is just racism.
That's what it is. It's just racism.
Yeah, it is.
I'm saying, so you can be clear, what critical race theory is, in its simplest brass tacks that's being taught in schools, is dividing people by racial category into privileged class versus oppressed class in maybe a complicated way, but nevertheless. So talking about racial privilege as a key component to understanding how race creates inequality, and secondly, teaching about the need for racial equity as a redistribution scheme that eventually leads to racial justice through some process of applying it long enough.
Actually, all that's pretty good.
It's not good. It's communism.
Hold on. All that was pretty based.
See,
well, there you go.
Mask off.
The mask fell off. Good job.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Based.
I won. Yeah. Base socialism. There you go.
What he never does is say what's wrong with any of that.
It didn't work last time. It won't.
So I don't know. This is where I feel like I'd be like, you really got to just nail down like, oh, okay, so just so everyone's clear, you're endorsing Marxism and you agree that CRT is race Marxism. Because that you just said everything I said sounds based. Okay.
This is
really
time to do that. Nail them down.
Really nail them down there.
Work this time. Okay. Work this time.
So you agree that that's being taught, but you agree that it should be taught. You think it should be taught that people should be divided up into oppressor and oppressed in the classroom.
No, because that's not critical race theory. It was what I was talking about. If there are individual instances.
See, he just said that that's not critical race theory.
Right. But that's the game they always play.
Right.
They say, "Oh, what you just said is amazing, but that's not what CRT is."
So what are these privilege walks in? If it's not critical race theory,
it's that's just teaching history, Adam. Okay.
I know, it's like I don't
that's
get
just
it.
Teaching history.
Seems like it's teaching present, not history.
Right.
I mean, if you're doing a privilege walk, you're singling out different factors that people have today, right now.
Exactly.
I don't get it.
Prince Charming for $20 says, everything CRT attributes to race is explained by greed. The slave trade is greed. Segregation is greed. War on drugs is greed. Yeah, maybe not everything, but a lot of almost everything. A lot of these things are greed and income issues, I would agree, and wealth issues, yeah.
Is greed good or bad in that equation?
Well, not in that equation, it's not.
Greed drives so much, though. I mean, I don't know.
It can be used for good. Well, no, you have to channel greed properly. That's society has to channel the negative desires of human beings into being productive in some fashion. And that's part of why capitalism is so genius, because that's what it does. Now, but obviously there's a continuing arms race between regulations and people trying to take advantage of the situation by fucking over other people. And that's where society has to step in.
Yeah.
Evan Samus for $20 says, you guys should listen to the Daily Show interview with Kimberly Crenshaw. They said something to the effect of, quote, it's obviously not Marxism, right? That's amazing. I didn't know that was even a thing. I definitely will have to check that out.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Unfortunately, it's an hour long, so maybe we'll do a whole stream on that.
Kimberly Crenshaw?
Yeah, there's an hour-long interview, Kimberly Crenshaw, with not Trevor Noah, but two people that work for the Daily Show, I guess.
Oh, okay.
So I'll check that out. Yeah.
Of like bad classroom activities, yeah, critique those. But you keep saying that critical race theory says that it's things that it specifically doesn't. So, for example,
Iron law of woke projection.
Who here thinks that critical race theory says that white people are inherently evil?
Oh, right here. Sitch, you're raising your hand, right?
Well, this is the problem. They play all these word games. They'll say like, oh, they don't think that white people are biologically inherently evil, but then they act as if they are in everything they say.
Right.
So it's a total talking on both sides of their mouth.
I don't know how you can't. Listen, oppression is evil, Sitch. I
Of course.
firmly agree that if you're categorizing people as oppressor, you're doing that to categorize them as evil. So
I do agree with that completely.
So, but CRT categorizes white people as oppressors, right?
What they do, this very dishonest thing where they say, we're not categorically saying all white people are oppressors. And then everything they say under that says that all white people are oppressors.
Right. Like,
but like
read
not
between the lines, bitch.
Right. So yeah, it's very dishonest the way it's all framed.
It's weird that he's bringing this up because
he thinks it's a straw man. He's Joya Reid saying it's obviously not Marxism, right?
Oh, I guess so. Well, I can't wait to hear the straw man, though.
Awesome.
The correct statement is that critical race theory scapegoats whiteness as a form of bourgeois property.
What does it mean by whiteness? What does it mean by whiteness, James?
Do you want me to fucking read it to you?
Oh my God, James is getting triggered here. James is getting fucking triggered.
I know.
He gets triggered worse than me.
Right.
Whiteness is a set of...
Yes, I would assume you could just give me.
But while he's digging that up, I just want to point out that we had every critical race theory discussion ever, and I tried to avoid it by saying, let's not argue about the obscure.
Go fucking Sean. Yes.
Thank you, Sean. Listen,
just want to point this out. I tried to avoid this shit in the very beginning.
Thank you, Sean.
Remember 30 minutes ago?
Well, actually, you know what? Fuck you, Sean. I want this to be a shit show. Okay, this makes for better viewing experience for us.
I know. It's totally devolved into a shit show too.
And talk about it in practice. We went through. It's not critical race theory. It's not being taught in schools, and also it's based. I'm kind of in favor of it, which is how every single one of these conversations happens.
Whiteness is a location of structural advantage of racial privilege. Second is a standpoint, a place from which white people look at ourselves and others, and at society. Third, whiteness refers to a set of cultural practices that are usually unmarked and unnamed. That's on Brandeis Universities. I could talk about whiteness as property, which we already talked about. But to do this, we have to understand the definition of race.
Are you going to answer what's wrong with that?
So
he goes the full. It's based.
I know, but it's hilarious how in CRT they're able to basically brand a skin color as having all these negative attributes to it. So it's okay to say, "Oh, I don't hate white people. I hate whiteness." We need to deconstruct whiteness. That's like, fuck you. Everyone knows what you're doing, okay? You're trying to be coy here, and you're trying to pretend like you're trying to create a way to make it acceptable for you to be openly racist is all you're doing. That's all that's happening right now.
All of these stereotypes existed about black people in the 1950s and 60s. I mean, there's racist stereotypes are as old as time.
Yes.
It's bizarre to me that people are trying to voice these racist stereotypes onto white people now and going as far as teaching them in fucking public school. It's right. So wacky. And then to get all bent out of shape when white people don't really like it. It's
right.
Like, what the fuck?
Just imagine if you had anti-CRT people say, oh, well, I'm gonna start. You guys are using this term whiteness. I'm gonna start using the term blackness. I'm gonna describe all these negative traits of criminality or antisocial behavior,
laziness,
and say, "Oh, I'm not anti-black. I'm anti-blackness." Yeah, it's like, let's see how that goes over.
We're just against blackness. Yeah,
I know.
Sorry, we're throwing theft in with blackness. Dishonesty is part of.
I don't know why you guys are calling us racist. I'm very clearly not anti-black. I'm just anti-blackness. Okay.
I know, it's so absurd. And that's why these debates are crazy, because
I know.
Then they just want to pretend that no, we're not talking about that, you know?
Yes.
Hate the sin but love the sinner. Right? Fuck you.
As they're throwing stones at your head.
I know.
Trying to brain you, they're saying hate the sin, not the sinner.
Yes. It's so weird. It's so weird. This is what happens. We've had a generation now of people of color that have been raised thinking people of color, it's impossible for them to be racist. That they cannot display any kind of racism. That's like physically impossible for them. That was a giant mistake. That was a huge mistake.
Yeah, it's true.
Anyone can be a racist piece of shit, okay?
Very true. Anyone can be a racist piece of shit.
It's pretty much, I feel like it's kind of how we're hardwired. If we don't have cultural pressures pushing against it, everyone's going to devolve into being a racist piece of shit. And CRT comes along and they're like, well, not only are we not against these social pressures that prevent people from becoming racist pieces of shit, we want to develop an institution that, that cultivates people being racist pieces of shit. What do you think?
It's
no, I think it's terrible.
It's like, hey, listen, we want to take all your racist tendencies and we want to institutionalize it. Okay?
Yes,
Let's create
yes.
It's actually hilarious. It's literally CRT is the race left version of Julius Evola. It's saying, I want to take all your racism and I want to solidify it in a framework so that everyone can use.
Or even, I mean, there have been other religions like this. Think of Mormonism. It's like, let's institutionalize men get 20 wives. I think that would be a good institution to have.
There you go.
Why? What women? Why are you bitching about this? Come on.
What are you complaining about? Yeah.
Guys who don't get a wife because the head preacher has 20 women to himself. What? You can go live somewhere else. It's like
James.
Go ahead.
J-Mac for another $50. Thank you so much, J-Mac. Our surrogate. This is why he gets mad too, because he says, as a parent, and obviously he's our parent, mostly white kids. It's a parent of mostly white kids. I don't know what that means, Jay. It's blood boiling to hear someone say racist shit about something your children have no control over. Shocker. Yes,
oh, I know. Yes, that's another thing that makes the CRT debate even more infuriating. It's like the fact that Jangles can sit there and think that, why are parents getting so bent out of shape about this? It makes absolutely no sense at all.
I know.
If he wants to argue, and I guess, I think we're pretty close to where I stopped listening. If he wants to argue that CRT is not anti-white, that's a tough argument to make.
Yeah, no, I agree. Asian expat for $20 says James Lindsay is the goat of manspreading. That is actually true. Yeah, he is. He does it on purpose. Yeah. Jacob Show for $20 says race and culture get conflated in race conversations, with culture being important and race being meaningless, where everything else is factored out. Critical culture theory makes more sense.
Yeah, no, culture is the important part.
They also said ass class for the win. So you have Adam, Sitch, and Sargon.
Sweet.
We're in the ass class.
Sweet. We need a culture that's, in America, that kind of was what we were working on, a culture that minimized the racial component.
Yep. That was the dirty, disgusting liberal way. And now we need the socialist way, because that obviously the liberal way didn't work.
Right. Yeah. Ouch.
It is bourgeois property. It is a Marxist understanding.
He did it. You just called it Marxist. Yeah.
Okay. Hold on. Definition of race from the same website. Hello.
Wait, we're talking over each other.
A misleading and deceptive race. A misleading and deceptively appealing classification of human beings created by white people originally from Europe, which assigns human worth and social status using the white racial identity as the archetype of humanity for the purpose of creating and maintaining privilege, power, and systems of oppression. Exactly like I said.
Look at the most negative stereotype of white people I can think of. That's so fucking evil.
Yep.
That's so fucking evil. Listen. Yep. I just want to get high and surf, man. I don't have time to oppress people, okay? It's not my nature.
Well, see, but this is part of the problem, is that since these people are all science deniers.
Oh, hell yeah. That's why Jangles fucking drives me crazy.
Right. All the CRT academics, all the woke academic fields, they're all science deniers because none of them want to look at racism from a biological evolutionary point of view and understand why people are racist and why they become racist. Because if you don't understand that, then you can't figure out how to fight against it. Think figure out how to solve it.
Yes.
And instead you come up with batshit stupid theories like, well, race was designed intentionally by a bunch of white people in order to subjugate the blacks. And it's like, it's like, okay, well, if that's your framework, then obviously that's why they've come to this conclusion that only whites can be racist and blacks can't be. Because they sort of built it into the definition.
They did, yeah. Oh, God. It's so bad. It's so bad. The media now is fighting so hard against negative stereotypes of blacks and people of color.
Right.
But they've
and then CRT's like kicks the door down and says, fuck you, we're going back to stereotype time, bitches.
Yeah, but you're on the receiving end of it. Can you imagine?
Well, but so are black people, because if CRT or other woke academics are saying that being on time and being orderly and productive is a quote white cultural value, then the implicit implication is that means they're saying that black people are lazy and late.
You're right.
So they're right. It's not just they're just being, and this is why I think Karlin Borchenko is totally right when she says, don't call CRT white racism, just call it racism.
It is just racism.
That's what it is. It's just racism.
Yeah, it is. Hi, you just listened to a clip from the Sitch and Adams show. If you like what you heard, you can listen to our live show right here on this channel on Sunday, starting at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And if you want, you can super chat us. We read $20 and up super chats on the show and then do a follow-up stream on the following Tuesday where we read the rest of the unread super chats and interact with fans of the show. Subscribe to this channel right here to listen to the live show or to listen to more of our awesome clips.